Wow, this is just blowing my mind. Proof that what I've been saying was true. These European car makers have finally revealed what's actually really happening in China. That their dealerships would be insolvent, would be bankrupt, but they're having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars just to keep them from going broke. I mean, we're talking BMW here. We're talking the European automotive industry. It's in trouble. It's in crisis. It's about to collapse. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to have you with us. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. I've been predicting for years this would happen, and it's not like I find any pleasure in this. It's more that a lot of people said I was wrong. They said, you're wrong about Nissan. Well, what are we seeing from Nissan today within the last 24 hours? Nissan says they've got 1 year. They can't pay their debt. I mean, come on. It's all here. It's happening right now, here today. Automotive News has just reported that European premium brands are having to pay their Chinese dealers hundreds of millions of euros to keep them solvent as demand is falling sharply amid a price war in the country. It's not just a price war, guys. I mean, I was just in China last week. And I was driving around. I barely BMWs, Audis, Mercedes Benzes. I saw old ones, not new ones though. I mean, very few of them. Shanghai, right? The city where, well, people don't want these old internal combustion European cars anymore, and they don't see them as being premium EV manufacturers. They're just not. These numbers are crazy. More than 300 million euros over the last quarter to subsidize its network in China. Mercedes-Benz says they did the same thing. Jaguar Land Rover said they have financially supported their dealers as well. There's been very large discounting of vehicles and overstocking at retailers, and this has led to a series of collapses in the retail networks over in China, said Richard Molyneux, Chief Financial Officer at Jaguar Land Rover, to analysts on the company's earnings call. So this is not even coming from reporters anymore. It's coming from the actual car companies themselves, admitting what's happening. Right? This is getting really, really serious. Porsche sales have collapsed in China. China is a crucial market for Europe's premium brands. Traditionally, over the last 10 years, 50% of their profits worldwide have come from China. It's been the source of much of their profit in recent years, says Automotive News Europe, but lower demand and higher discounting there have cut margins in the third quarter ending September 30. This reminds me actually of a video I did, I think it was about 6 months ago, where I mentioned that more than 2,000 dealerships in China had gone bankrupt. Of course, the majority of those are legacy automotive dealers, but they're also local dealers as well. There's kind of crazy things going on here. There is huge discounting. Chinese automakers, they want to get rid of legacy automakers. They're willing to sell at a loss in order to get rid of their rivals as long as it takes. Many of them are losing, at least $1 billion a year at undercutting these legacy automakers, and they're probably selling better cars at the same time. So you can imagine how bad this is, and there's also been some enormous discounting. In fact, I saw numerous media reports in China saying that premium automakers like Audi and BMW are offering as much as 50% discounts on existing stock. I mean, this is unheard of before. BMW reported that its third quarter China deliveries were down 30% to 147,000 compared with the same period in 2023. Its profit margin fell as well. It fell from a profit margin for BMW of 11%. Their profits fell to 2.6%. Maybe there's some creative accounting going on there that they haven't made any profit whatsoever, but 2.6% from 11% means profits have fallen by what's that, like 80% fall in profit. BMW blamed lower consumer confidence in China as well as a recall of vehicles with a potentially faulty brake system. So finally, these automakers are starting to say what I've been saying on the channel, that part of the reason their vehicles are not selling anymore is also the quality of them is not as good as what they claim, what people think it is. If BMW is blaming potentially faulty brake systems as being why people are not buying their cars, that's saying what I just said, right? Jaguar Land Rover's third quarter retail sales fell 17% in China to a pretty measly 22,785. Remember, this car market is 27 million cars a year, contributing to a fall in its profit margins as well. They fell by around 50%. Mercedes' third quarter margins fell to 5.7% from 10.3% the same quarter year before, so they fell by 50%. Half of that decline came from the effects of the EV stock clearing and dealer support in China. It doesn't really matter, does it? The point is their profits are evaporating. The automaker's sales in China fell by 10% in the first 9 months to 500,000 units. High profit top-end models, including the S-Class and GLS, were among those hit, falling globally, mainly due to the subdued market environment in Asia, said Mercedes-Benz. Audi did not break down quarter results, but it said sales in the first 9 months in China were down by around 10% and described the market as challenging in its 9-month report. The premium market in China fell 8.5%, all premium cars, to 1.9 million in the first 9 months. And the key reason for that, guys, is you don't need to buy a premium car in the premium segment to get a premium car anymore. It doesn't happen. I mean, honestly, look at the Zeekr 7X. I mean, look at some of these other cars, not just that. I mean, Xpeng's cars, Neo's cars. Look at some of these vehicles you can get now for, non-premium prices. They are better. They're better vehicles. It's crazy. 2,000 Chinese dealers will close this year. 2,000 dealers. About 2,000 dealerships, says Automotive News Europe, will close this year, according to a survey by the China Automobile Dealers Association. More than half of dealers surveyed in the first half of the year said they would be unprofitable this year. That's worse than last year. That's an increase of 7.3% versus last year. So, I mean, more than half of dealers surveyed in the first half of the year said they would be unprofitable this year. 2,000 dealerships will close this year. So this shows you that this is a massive, massive problem. CADA blamed automakers for failing to reduce production to match market conditions. At present, insufficient demand has become the biggest problem in the automobile market. Now, keep in mind, the automobile market in China has not shrunk. I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers telling you it has, but they provide no facts. They're all just emotions and, oh, look at this drama. There's no statistics for them. Ask them that in the comments next time you watch these crazy videos. Say to them, guys, can you provide us with actual statistics and see if there's any truth? So the truth is the Chinese auto market hasn't shrunk because it's been heavily subsidized by the Chinese government. That's true, but it hasn't shrunk. So these automakers are not looking at a smaller piece of they're not looking at a smaller overall market. The reality is here that all these EV manufacturers, they are taking huge market share. One of the highest profile dealer failures is BMW's first so-called SS store. SS. I mean, holy shit. I can't believe they called it an SS store. I mean, this is like Nazi Germany, the SS troopers, right? I mean, holy hell. Anyway. It's in Beijing, flagship store. It's closed. I'm glad to hear it has. Main dealers in China are typically called 4S stores for their ability to offer sales, servicing, spare parts, and surveys or customer feedback. The outlet made headlines when it opened in 2012 by adding a 5th S for sustainability with attached wind turbines and solar panels to generate some of its electricity. The Beijing SS store has shut along with other stores operated by the Hong Kong-listed GA Holding dealer group. BMW said it is supporting dealers by financing their ability to buy stock. A lot of them are currently in a loss, but it's not just about profitability, also liquidity, said BMW. But it's like a house of cards. I mean, you're financing these dealers who are making a loss. What's going to save them? I mean, what's BMW going to do to revamp the company in China? There's nothing they can do. It's game over. This is going to hurt BMW really, really badly because, I mean, they're basically just propping up businesses that are unsustainable. That's what it is. The increase in dealer failures is causing banks to become cautious, worsening the situation for those remaining. That insolvency tends to have a knock-on effect on the banking system's desire over there to fund the remaining distributors, said insiders in China. Mercedes will continue offering similar levels of dealer support into the fourth quarter. He cautioned dealers to do their homework in terms of making efficiencies and reducing their footprint to become self-sustainable in the midterm. Mercedes says it's going to stop supporting dealers in 2025. I mean, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. How long can they do that for? Yeah, exactly. So Mercedes is saying, if you've got a showroom floor, cut it in half. Lease half of that floor, lease the other half to someone else or something like that. Europe's premium brands, says Automotive News, are increasingly being dragged into the price war in China, meaning they are having to discount heavily, especially at the lower end. Jaguar Land Rover said that effective models such as the Range Rover Evoque and Land Rover Discovery Sport, which are made in China in the mass sector of the market, is really, really nasty, said Jaguar Land Rover. adding it is not so nasty yet in the segments of the industry where we really play and where we really rely for our profitability, but it will be soon. A report by Nikkei quoted one dealer as saying that only the Range Rover and Defender models were profitable. In other words, half their cars are making a loss when they sell them. As the Chinese market shifts towards fully electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles, buyers are increasingly favoring premium local brands, or even just local brands. Look at BYD sales, right? This means that European brands who sell combustion vehicles primarily are in big trouble. In the lower segments, there is very strong competition from the new EVs impacting internal combustion sales. But in the mid-sector, there is as well. These automakers are in big trouble, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me know though, guys, what do you think? There's a tsunami coming for these manufacturers, and I'm concerned. I mean, we're looking at massive job losses in Germany. We're looking at potentially hundreds of thousands of job losses in Germany. Wow, this is about to get really, really bad.